All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. And you can act naturally, all right? It's not a fake thing. It's a video. All right, so today we're going to look at finding remainders, and we're going to take a look at what division actually means. You know, our standard is to learn to divide, two numbers on the outside, and part of that, guys, is why do we divide? I mean, there's got to be a reason for us to use that. We've already talked math without the real world. What do you do with it? So we're going to learn to put it into place with the real world. Your standard is on the board, NBT 6. Dividing with two-digit divisors. All right, first of all, in your groups, talk about what kind of things in the real world, why do we divide? What's that skill needed for? You don't need your Chromebooks, honey. I'll let you know. In fact, you can put your Chromebook in your desk for the first part of your lesson. Underneath your notebooks. So in your teams, go ahead and talk about different situations where we would divide. Out in the real world, why would you use division?
How to pass out, divide that up. And there's 5 people, and there's us. And like we have to sit on that.
Are you talking about why you divide? I don't hear you. You ready? All right. So now you've decided some situations where you would divide something. Perfect. I heard a few things like share, pass out, split. Anyone want to add to this? Or a situation? Divide. Any other things you'd like to add? All right. Now let's talk about situations. What kind of situations? Those are words. But talk about what would be happening. What's the actual thing that's happening? For example, I went yesterday and I bought 300 and some dum-dums in one bag. Does that make you start thinking about a division problem?
Yes.
Okay, so think about a situation where you would use division. If you've already talked about one, come up with another situation. Go.
Well, like maybe
You ready to share? Make them quick, all right? Tell me a situation.
Money crisis.
Money crisis, trying to share money. Will you always share your money with nothing left? No, maybe not. Situation? I'll come back to you.
At a birthday party when you're splitting up cake.
Cutting cake at the birthday party. Might there be leftover cake?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Your situation.
Cutting pizza.
Cutting pizza. Might there be leftover pizza? All right. I'll come back to you while you think of another one. Go.
Splitting out money in, like, let's say trying to buy something that everyone wants to pay an even amount.
Okay, very good. Trying to buy something where everyone wants to pay an even amount.
Cutting a pancake.
Cutting a pancake. All right. All perfect. Now, the hard part. What happens to the remainders? So let's look at this one. I said that I bought 360 Dum Dum Pops. We're going to change that to 362 Dum Dums for sake of having a remainder. I'm going to pass them out between 60 children. What's the fastest way I can solve this? Using what method?
Partial quotient.
Partial quotients. And my quick fact that I might use would be 60 by 60 by 6. What's 60 by 6 going to be? 360. Right? Because 6 times 6 is 36. Add your ending 0 or annex your ending 0, and you have 360. What are you going to do with those?
Eat them.
What are they?
Remainder.
So let's look at how can we really be... One of the things you want to do when you're doing your division is labeling, because that's going to tell you more about your remainder. What were these? Dum Dums. So they're lollipops. All right? And what was the 60?
People.
Okay.
Kids.
Humans, something. And so what was the 360?
How much is it now? 60 times 6.
But what is it? I know it's 60 times 6, but what actually is it?
How much you can give out?
It's the Dum Dums I passed out, what, right? So these are more pops. And if you have lollipops and you take away lollipops, what do you have left? Lollipops. Those labels are going to give you a lot of information about what happens to your remainder. So what's going to happen to that? Talk about it in your team. What would happen to that remainder? Thank you, honey.
Really? That might be yours, I guess.
Give me 5. You ready? What'd you do with them? Okay. Eat them. Keep them for yourself. Anybody want to put them back in the bag? Then what are you going to do with them if you don't eat them and you don't what's that? They just stay there, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay. Think of it. So was this remainder, if I would ask you how many lollipops would everyone get, what would our answer be? 6. Does the remainder have anything to do with that answer?
No.
So what'd you do with that remainder?
Put it back in the bag. Put it back in the bag.
You just left it, right? All right. So think of another situation where the remainder would not just get left. See if you can try that. 2 of you came up with a situation where you could keep working till there wasn't a remainder. It won't be suckers, because suckers, it's something solid. You can't do anything with it. What'd you come up with? What was your first situation? Go back to that. No, your first situation. What was your first situation? Remember the one you shared? No.
No.
Think about it. What happens when you share money? And then what? And so you've divided $6 between 5 of you, right? You each got $1. Here's $1 remainder. What are we going to do with that? Talk about it. You ready? So you've divided $5 between you. You each got $1. Here's 1 left. What are we going to do with that? Talk. There's $6. We've given you each $1. There's $1 left. What are we going to do with it?
Split it.
Talk about more. How? There's $6. I give you each $1. There's $1 left. What would happen to it? How? Give me 5. You ready? So I just gave you each a situation with money where you had $1 left. If you were really trying to share that money, what are you going to do with that $1?
You're going to split into 25.
No,
You're going to go and get
20 cents each.
But you're not going to go get 20 cents. You're going to go get change. So what did we do mathematically, Caden?
What we did was we got the dollar, we split it up into basically fractions, and then added it to the total to get all of it equal.
All right. So I totally agree. Do you agree? He broke it up into, but he said basically fractions. If you're picturing in your mind, visualize $1.25. Do you see a fraction?
I see decimals.
So very good. And fractions and decimals, we really have the same thing. It's just the way we see it is a little bit different. And decimals would be more the correct word, right? Awesome. What happened to that remainder?
You split it up.
You shared it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so was there a remainder in the end?
No.
Not really. We added our decimal, added a 0 placeholder, and continued dividing. All right, so far, we have come up with one that we got rid of. We left it in the bag. And let me erase this. I don't think we need this now. And we've got one that we completely shared. Now I'm going to give you the hard one. Try to think of a situation where that remainder is going to change your answer. Try to think of a situation where your remainder is going to change this. Where your remainder is going to make this be different. That's hard. Go ahead, give it a shot. See if you can come up with something. Do you guys go camping? 2 and a 10.
So how would
Planet. Do you guys go camping?
No. I never.
So let's change that. Let's ride the roller coaster. Only 3 people can go on at once. How many times that roller coaster to ride? Do you guys go camping?
Yes.
Well, you're going to now. 2 and a 10. Come up with a plan. You get 2 people in 1 tent. Don't leave anybody out in the cold.
Wait, so this is our camping people?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you guys go camping? Make believe Mason's still here, all right? Because that's going to be necessary. You get 2 people to a tent. Come up with a plan. Do we camp? Sometimes. You get 2 people in a tent. Come up with a plan. And there's 5 of you. You ready? 1. You need another minute? All right.
hit me?
What'd you do, a decimal?
I don't know. One, two, come on back. Did anyone solve the tent issue for camping? So let's stop and think. You might have, but let's stop and think about it. You can tell us if we're right. So you guys, because they only had a group of 4 at the green table, I told the green table that their situation was a little different. They're on a roller coaster. The roller coaster can only ride 3 people at once, but everybody wants to ride. How many times does that roller coaster have to run for all of them to get on it? Twice. So you're telling me that when I divide 4 by 3, I get 1 times 3 is 3, a remainder of 1, and this 1 is going to turn that to a 2. Right? That is what you said. Now think about your camping situation. There's 5 of you at a table. You only get 2 people in each tent. If you're the person planning to sleep outside under the stars, please raise your hand. No, you don't understand. Without the tent. Okay, so some of us are brave, but do you understand the question? What would you do if... Now, guys, so let's make believe we're not going to sleep outside under the stars. That was a silly question. We should have known you'd go under the stars. What are you going to do with... What's going to happen?
There's going to be maybe, I guess 3.
No, you can't change the rules. That's really important. No, hang on. That's really important in math, guys. When you're given a math problem, you can't change the situation to fit what you think it should be. Because, yes, in real life, we'd probably squish another person in there, right, Hayden? We've done that for the convention. But let's think that's not the mathematical reason. And someone that's outside of your math situation would not understand that that's what's happening.
Oh, so we can't go by 3-person tent?
No, you can't go by a different tent, Mila. So you said you had 5 people. You can put 2 in a tent, right? So that tells us we're going to have 2 tents. And so what is this for a label? The 5 is people. And the 2 is
Tents.
people. Those are people in groups. All right? And so we're putting people in groups. This is the only time that you'll see people shared by peoples. Okay? Most often that does not happen. But putting people in groups is people sharing people. Why were we doing it? To find out how many? Tents. So here are your tents. If this is people, what are these? How are you going to have people and take away a tent? Could you? Is that possible? What do you notice about subtraction labels?
They take away.
They take away, but what are you taking away?
People. Whatever the label is.
Whatever the top label is. Good job, Jacob. Whatever this label is what you're taking away. Because if these are people and you're taking tents, how'd the person turn into a tent? Be careful. If these are people and these are people, what are these?
People.
People. If those are people, where are they going to sleep? So when you're asked how many tents do you need, if 2 people can get in a tent and you have 5 people, how many tents do you really need? Now, what do we call it in math when one digit makes another change? What's that skill? No, it's not addition. No, not an operation. Not an operation. When a digit makes another... Let's see. We've already looked at writing this as a remainder, right? So this is... That wouldn't make sense. That'd be a half of something. Would it be rounding? Does the remainder force the whole number to go up? Yes. It does, doesn't it? So that is rounding. Let's see. I've lost our thing here. All right. Last question. What do you call remainders? In the real world, what are the labels in your group? Talk about it in your group. What do you call your remainders? Okay, come up with more.
You're talking about money and cents.
All right. Keep coming up. Extras. What else? Leftovers. Remains. What else? What else? You don't usually have remainders in the real world. Remains. What else? What do we have? Leftovers. Remains. Extras. Give me 5. All right, so we heard a lot of different words like leftovers, remains, extras. Anyone want to put something else in there? Cents. As in money, not as in brains. They're never left over. Anything else? Sometimes when we share something, I can't draw a good saw. We tried this yesterday. You ready? If this piece of wood is cut into 23 inches long, and I cut it exactly in half, is there more than a whole number on each side?
Yeah.
There is. What whole number would be on each side? 11 here, and 11 here. And what's left out of the 23? 1.
Split it in half.
It becomes a fraction, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And what would each of them get?
1/2.
So sometimes the remainder doesn't get labeled. It just is part of something else. Do you see that? It's just gone. You shared it completely. Take out your Chromebooks. Sign into Google Classroom. What are you doing? Is it having trouble?
No. I have Olivia's user on here, and it won't sign out of any of them. Yeah. It's just like when you do this, it looks weird.
Why isn't she doing her own?
Because it won't turn on.
I'll get you another one.
Because usually it's always me.
But you get yours on. Guys, you have to remember to sign out. Some of you don't sign out of your Chromebook, and I had to take 6 people off of there just now. When you get on Google Classroom, go to your math class. Get in the section that says classwork, not stream. It's the one in the middle is classwork. Go to your division unit. And the title that you're looking for is Interpret Remainders Task Cards. I'm sorry, it does say teamwork. I think I should put my glasses on. Yeah. All right, so I've set this up originally for you to do it with one Chromebook, and then I realized that if you all got up to look at one Chromebook, it would be just a disaster. So you can each look at your own slideshow. I'll wait for everybody to sign in. Now, this slideshow, you can use it under present until you get to the point where you have to type answers, and then you escape. and you can go to the edit mode and type answers in. But until you get to that point, you can put it on present if you want to see it larger. Are you in? It's the last one. It's the third one down on your list. Go to classwork, division. It's the third one down. Are you getting in? Help each other if you need to. You guys are in? So, listen up. Since I had everyone open one, it automatically put your name on the top, I think.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, so it's already shared under your name. You don't have to put your names in there. I know where you are, so we didn't need to use that. Move on through your slides. The first one has your standard. The second one is information that the questions we just went over. If you move on to the fourth one, you're going to see division words. Now, most of these division words are also up here, and the ones that are not will get added to it. The one you have to be most careful of that's not here is the word each. Remember, each in the question. Each in the question part of the situation lets you know that it's division. Each in the statement part will let you know that it's multiplication, so be careful. If you go to the next slide, you're going to see the things that we talked about just now. Drop it, share it, add it, use it. There's one more we'll get to in just a second. So what situation did we come up with where we dropped it? What'd you do with those extra lollipops? You left them in the bag. That's a drop it. Where did we come up with the share it? All right, so the piece of wood, money situations, right? Where did we come up with the situation where the remainder added to the quotient? Very good. So that's on this it says add it. On the papers that you're getting, it says round it. Okay? You're not adding the remainder. You're adding a 1 because of the remainder. Let's look at that situation carefully because that's a very common mistake. If we had said we had 7 students and we can put 5 in a tent, that's 1 tent with 2 people left over. How many tents do those 2 people need? 1. So it's adding 1 to your quotient. It's not adding the remainder to the quotient. Okay, it's adding 1 more to take care of that remainder. And then we had, back up. We did drop it, lollipops. Share it, money, and cutting things equally. I heard one group earlier saying they were going to cut up the last piece of cake until everybody got a bite. That's an awesome idea, but what happens if you had just one small cupcake and 25 children?
You'd have to cut that.
So it doesn't always make sense in the real world, does it? Because if you try to cut a cupcake into 25 pieces, what do you get? Crumbs. Okay? Exactly. So you want to think about that real world situation. Use it. That's different. When would you use your remainder? So listen up. I'm filling up a truck with paintings. I have 12 paintings. I'm going to put 5 in each spot. How many paintings are in the last spot, the third one? I had 12 paintings. Did you hear him? Watch. I have 12 paintings. I can 5 in each one. Here's 5, here's 5. What am I going to do with the 2 extras? I need another container, right? And your question was, how many are in the partially filled container? 2. Do you see where your remainder is the answer? All right. So on that page you see drop it, add it, share it, use it. If you'll go to the next page, next slide. On the next slide, you're going to subtract your remainder from your divisor. That's a how much more. So listen carefully. I'm going to give you an example, and then you're going to do some teamwork. Sodas cost, we'll go old school. Sodas cost 25 cents. Okay? You want to buy 4 sodas. You have, hang on, let me write this or I'm going to lose track of my words. What's going to help me so I don't lose track of my problem? Using labels. All right, so we have 5 kids. I have to come up with a situation. I'm sorry. All right, sodas cost 25 cents each. I want to buy 5 sodas. I have 95 cents. How many sodas could I buy with 95 cents?
3.
All right. 3 times 25 is 75. That leaves 20 cents in my pocket. Your question is, how much more money do I need? I need 5 more. Where did you get that from?
20 plus 5 is 25.
Did you take this and subtract it from that without thinking about it? You did. If this is how much they cost and this is what you have, what you're doing is subtracting this from this. That's finding out how much more is needed. Subtracting your remainder is to look at how much more is needed. Okay, Anya's, what, honey? It is common sense for an easy problem, but as the problems get harder, it might not be so obvious. And that's why it's so hard to figure out, because you do it automatically, you don't realize you're subtracting. Okay? Next slide is a repeat of what we've looked at. Go one more. So it tells you to work in your group, use your math words in your discussion. You're going to read the 5 problems that are on your slideshow. In your group, decide which situation do they fit. Is it around it, drop it, share it, use it? You can go back to your slides. I'll come around and help you. At the end of every slide, you'll see the green question marks. Back them up and type in your answer. You can work together, guys. And at every station, I have given you a hard copy of the questions so that if you need to use your hard copy of your questions, they're right there. All right, if you need to use these instead of your Chromebooks, that's fine. Do you understand your directions? You're not doing any division. You don't have to do any math, guys, not yet. If we have time before the day's over, we'll do some math. But right now, we're using our reading brains to find out why we're doing this math and what's going to happen. You ready? You got it? You understand? Get started. Read your first slide and make decisions. This is where if you want to make it bigger, you can click on present. When you have to put answers in, hit escape to put your answers in. You can read out loud too. If you want to pick a reader, that's fine.
Okay, I have my.
So what's our first one? Susan is baking pies. Ah.
Because you got to do it and there's 35. Oh, yeah. Because they have 35.
4 and the remainder is 3?
Yeah, 4.
But I don't want a math answer. I want to know, are you going to,
And sleep in 3 seconds.
is it a round it, drop it, share it? What's that remainder going to do? Cole had the right idea, but now you've got to figure out what violent, I'm sorry. Well, both of you. You had the right idea, but now you've got to figure out what situation is that. Around it, drop it, share it. I'll make my slideshow, go back to that. So guys, these, give me 5, eyes up here. These are the answers you should be typing in. Your remainder, you're either going to use it, or it's going to round your quotient up, or you're going to drop it like the lollipops. The rounded up was tenths, roller coaster. Share it like the board or money. Subtract it like how much more do you need. So these are the answers you're using for those slides. Did you decide what happens in the first one?
Share. You think it's share?
Share it. So what are we sharing?
Pies.
All right. How many people are going to eat the pies?
35.
How many pies are they going to have?
8.
Where did you find, how did you decide that they're going to have 8 pies?
Each pie serves 8 people.
So each pie serves 8 people. How many pies do they need? If a pie serves 8 people, and they have 35 people, what could you do to find that? Do you have to divide? Is there another way we could solve that?
Multiplying. You can multiply 8, 16, 24, 32.
So what'd you decide?
For number 1, we decided to share it.
What are you sharing? I'll be right back. So what did you come up with that time? That's not one of these. How many pies did he say you needed?
It don't say.
That's what you're figuring out. That's what you have to decide. If count, you can divide or you can count by 8s. Did you decide what's going on yet?
I think it would be subtract. Yeah, it'd be subtract.
That subtract is not a possible. I'm sorry, it is. But what are you subtracting? 35 minus 8. So now you have 35 people, and suddenly you're turning them into pies and taking them away.
You need 4 pies.
So you say you need 4 pies. If 4 pies, 8 people each, how many people did you just serve?
32.
But there's 35. So how many pies do you really need? 5. So which one of those is that? What did your remainder do to your quotient? I'll come back. We're not, yes, we are sharing pies. But how many people are going to share a pie? 8. And how many people do you have?
35.
And what's the question asking?
How many pies
Should she bake?
So
we
how
don't
many
know
pies?
How many pies we'd have to subtract. Or
What are you going to subtract there? People from pies? Pies from people?
She needs 5.
Why? Explain that to them and then help choose the word. So what did we do for number 1? What did we decide for number 1? Share it. What are you sharing in your remainder? How is it? So let's look at it again. What is your divisor in that question? You're putting groups of 8. 8 people to share a pie. What's your dividend in that question? 35, right? So if you're dividing groups of 8 people to share 35 people, to share in groups of 8 to get a pie, what's your answer? Your quotient represents what? What's the label going to be? You with this, Kaylin?
I think it's dropping to 30 because the closest it would get would be 32.
All right, so it would come to 32. So what was that 32? If the 35 was people and the 8 times the 4 was 32, the 32 was people. What about the 3 people that are left waiting for pie? Did you really only need 4 pies? Do you really only need 4 pies? Kaylin, you with us? Do you really only need 4 pies? So who's going to go without pie? Do you want to go without pie?
I will.
What would you like me to... No. What would you like the person to do who brought the pies? You'd be sitting there, it's your favorite pie. What would you be sitting there thinking? Gee, I wish she hadn't more. So how many pies do you really need?
4.
No, you had 4. You need 5 pies, don't you? So now, what happened there? What did your remainder do to your quotient? What'd you come up with?
Round it. I was right.
What'd your remainder do to your quotient on the first one? What'd you share?
Slices.
So let's go. Did you share pie? So we're at a party. It's your favorite pie. There are 35 of you. You can get 8 people to a pie. Okay? 35 divided by 8. What do you get? 32. So you fed 32 people. What are those 3 people that really love that pie thinking? Gee, I wish there was... So how many pies do you really need? You had 4. You really need 5 pies. Right? But what did your remainder do to your quotient in that?
Add it.
It didn't add it.
Use it.
No. One more guess. How about round it?
That's what add.
Did you? No, add it. Be very careful. I see. All right. Listen up. I see some confusion. If you're putting added instead of rounded, I understand that you have 2 different slides showing you different information. So added would be okay, but remember, you're not adding the remainder. You're adding 1 because of the remainder. Okay? What'd you guys do on number 2? Good job. Perfect. Can't cut up a marble, can you? What'd you guys do on number 2?
We did. Share.
How are you going to share a marble?
I said that didn't sound right. Okay,
Perfect. That's exactly the whole... Make it make sense in the real world, guys. You can't share a marble. What would you do with it? Is it sort of like a dum-dum? Like a lollipop?
Yeah, because if you try beating it, you just want to try sharing it, you just try breaking it or something.
So what happened with the lollipop? What was that one? What did you decide for number...
So
You stuck?
decided to share it because on that little keyword thing over there, it says split. Divide.
All right, so we want to remember that your keywords are going to tell you your operation. So yes, it's division. But when I divide, what is it? 63 by how many people? All right. If I divide 63 by 6, there's $3 left over, isn't there? What happens to that $3?
You round.
You turn it into... You keep dividing, don't you? So yes, a share is correct.
Oh, share it or should...
Do you have any questions? What do you have for that one? I just saw.
Oh, that one.
All right. Drop it. So let's think about that. That's the one where the kids ate. The 6 friends went to eat. Right? So you're at the restaurant and you have to pay a bill. It's $63. What are you dropping?
Oh, we're done. Oh, never mind, we're not done.
If that's shared by 6 people, right now you each paid $10, and there's a $3 left that you owe the store, the restaurant. Can you drop a bill that you owe someone? Try again. Make it make sense. You have to pay the bill, don't you? Should one of you pay that $3 all by yourself? Think about it. Which one do you want to tell me about? 23 rubber stamps. He wants to get the same number. How many stamps will be left over? Well, that's pretty obvious.
Well, do we put like those answers?
Yes.
So
Drop it. Which one you working on?
Whoa.
Got it.
I found out.
How many more bottles is she going to need to buy?
She needs to buy 1 bottle.
Explain it to them. Well, 2 minutes, let you finish? Maybe 3 minutes, we'll let you finish? All right, 3 minutes. That's true. It won't be a stamp anymore.
Told you that. I'm not saying subtract it. I'm just saying it's not sharing. I'm saying that it's not sharing.
So what do you do with it?
You would just have to.
But it's already been subtracted. It's a remainder. You shared your stamps. What are you going to do with the extras?
Use it.
Well, you could, but for right now in the situation, you would drop it, wouldn't you? We know that in real life you're going to use that stamp, but in the math world it would be dropped. About finished? Are we about finished? About finished? Yes? Are you about finished? Yes?
I think it makes more sense.
You have one more slide to go? Which one were you putting drop it on? Perfect.
Drop it on this one.
They might repeat. They might repeat. That's for some. So go back 1 slide. That's for this. We'll get there. Don't do it yet, Mila.
7.
I see you ready. When you get to the problem, let's look back. Just pause and wait. You may talk quietly at your table. One minute to finish. If you do not get to your last slide, it'll be fine. 1 more minute.
Are we done once we get
No, go back up 1. Good. I said to stop here.
Yeah, that's what we did.
Go back there and stop. Don't answer it.
No, go to the bottom.
And ten, 9, 8, 7. Go to this slide. I'll let you go back and finish up if you have time. Move to the slide that says, let's look back.
Okay.
This will be your first ticket out. Your answer will go on your slides. Alright, so we have solved the problem. The 7th grade teacher decided to give their students a pizza party. on the last day of school to celebrate their graduation. You might have that happen on the last day of 5th grade. Let's stay focused. The teacher orders 52 pizzas to split evenly among their classes. How much pizza will each teacher receive for their class? Okay? Your job is to do the math. You may do it in your head. If you need your board, you can use your board. If there are board and marker issues, then share. Decide. So listen to the rest of the question. You need to decide how much pizza will each teacher, notice each in the question, receive for their class. You're going to write your answer on the next slide and write a sentence about what you did with your remainder. Type a sentence about what you've done with your remainder. Nick, feet on the floor, please. You have about 2 minutes. Try to do it on your own, please. Don't you have a board? Good girl. I'll get your marker. Hang on to it, maybe it'll come back to life. You type your answer in on the next slide, guys. There's a place there for you to type it. Remember, you have to explain what you did with your remainder.
With our remainder, we have to add it to.
I don't know. I might use some labels there. You're going to decide how many pizzas each class will receive and try to decide what's going to happen with that remainder. Make like you're really doing it. Okay? Make as if it's really happening. Put yourself in the situation. You have all that pizza. What might you do with that?
I don't have a work.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that already, honey. Are you guys finished? I saw you stop. No? Okay. I like your labels. Very good. I like your labels. Your labels really will help you make decisions. You have to realize, what is that remainder? What does it represent? Is it classes? Is it whole pizzas? What might you do with them? When you're finished, I'll come around and tell you your second ticket out. There were 2. You're so quiet when you work. Good job. So what are you going to do with this now? What are they, first of all? We know it's a remainder in math, but what is it in the problem? what was this? 52 what? Pizzas. So what's the 49? We passed out 49 of the pizzas. So what's left? Not pieces, 3 whole pizzas. So what might you do with that? And there are a couple of different answers, guys. There's only one mathematical answer, but there might be a few different things that you could do with that remainder. Did you decide? Whoops, that's not what we wanted to do. So you might have to read it to me because I can't see it. Your answer here. Okay. Oh, good, good. What are you subtracting, honey? I didn't ask you what you do here. What is this? 52 what? Look back at the problem, and that was 52 what? Pizzas. And what'd you take away? You passed them out. What were they?
I passed out 49.
49 what?
Pizzas.
Pizzas. So what's left?
3.
3 what?
Pizzas.
Pizzas. What are you going to do with the 3 pizzas? That's what you're supposed to type here. So let me tell you your next ticket out. At your station, you will see sticky notes. They're the color of your station box. You have to, on one side of your sticky note, you're going to use one of these. Round it, drop it, or share it. So on one side of your sticky note, you're going to write your name, and you're going to write round it, drop it, share it. On the other side of your sticky note, write the word problem. Write your own word problem that is going to be a round it, drop it, or share it. Okay? Do you want me to say it again?
Can we exit out of the Chromebook and sign up?
Yes, if you're finished, you can. Excuse me? 1, 2, 3, my turn to speak. When you're finished, if you want to close your Chromebook, you can. And then pick up a sticky note. On one side, put your name and put round it, drop it, or share it. You want to decide which problem you want to use before you put that, guys. Some are easier than others. And then write your own word problem to go with that remainder situation. Does anyone not understand?
Oh, okay.
And you can put them in the parking lot when they're finished. What, hon? Yes, it must be a division problem. That was a silly question. You can. So don't anyone else sign out. If you finish your division problem, I see we have 15 minutes. So if you finish your ticket out and put it on the minion in the parking lot, you may get on iExcel. We're practicing. You know what? Don't get on iExcel. I'll give you a choice. All right? So when you finish your question, if you still have time, you may get on iExcel, D6, patterns, in division, or you may practice partial quotient division on your board, on your own numbers. We won't have time to go to a station. You can put your ticket out up there. Yeah. Is it 3 pieces of pizza or 3 whole pizzas? Yes, and that might change what you do with it, right? Would you just drop them if you paid for them? You're going to rethink that?
Hey, guys, Miss Jackson, if we're going to check the office to see if I have my jacket.
Why don't we do that when we finish math class? Okay. Thanks. Buddy, you're writing a word problem. Oh, I'm sorry, you're practicing. So let's look at this, Mason. Hang on. You didn't do partial quotient on this. Last night's work? You did standard algorithm. So let's look at doing partial quotient with one of these. Erase this. And on your board, write 5 divided into 135. And let's put your quick facts down here. So first thing, what quick facts might you want to use? Are you going to bother with 5 times 1? How about 5 times 10? All right. You're going to run out of space. Come here. Bring your marker. Same thing there. You take up so much room that you're going to run out of space on your whiteboard. And put your quick facts someplace, wherever you want. Here, put them over here. Five times 10 is? How about 50? What's 5 times 2? That's good. So let's put 5 times 20. Watch that. If 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 20 is... What's up, Jacob? Yeah. All right. Now, you have a nice big chunk there that you can take off. Take it off. And over here, put what your answer is. How many was that? Good job. Subtract. How many groups of 5 can you make if you have 35?
6.
Try it. Put a 6. Go ahead. No. Erase this.
Wait, where's the eraser?
6 would be part of your quick facts, right? Mm-hmm. So it's 5 times 6 is... Are you finished? No. Then why are you talking? Shh, get focused, guys. If you're talking, other people can't focus. 5 times 6 is not 35. A 5 times an even number always ends in a 0. Watch. 5. How much is it?
10.
So 2 is an even number. 5 times an even number always ends in a 0. Take off that chunk. Put your quick fact. Can you go one more time?
Yes.
Go one more time.
My mom and dad won't be able to come to the dance today to work it because, they're going to go to my brother's football game, and I didn't want my nene to go through all of that, but I still am going to bring them to you later.
Very good. Very good. I'll make you work. Are you about finished? You have about 2 minutes.
How could you get, in a way to divide 3, how would you get a remainder? Like a number that would give 3
Anything ending in a 0. Remember we looked at the 10?
Oh, yeah, that.
Very good. Why? You still stuck on this one? What are you going to do with 3 whole pizzas? Yeah. So write it in a sentence. How are you going to share them? Yeah. Perfect. Now what do you do with the 20, the 6, and the 5? Or the 20, the 6, and the 1? Very good. Now do you see what you should have done last time? Do you have to add that way? Look at me. 20. 6 more is?
26.
1 more is?
27.
You really didn't have to write that down, did you? Try harder to use it in your head. I heard a Miss Hyde.
I'm stuck on my own question.
Me too.
Okay, so it says Annie has 4 pizzas for her Easter party. 8 of her friends will be there. The pizzas are split into 3 pieces. What is the remains of the pizzas?
So what are you stuck on?
I'm not sure if I would 4 times 8 or 3 times 8.
You don't need to.
3? Or not 4 times.
Does this question match up with which one of these is it? Look at your question again. How many pieces are left over? That's what your question says. So is that a round it, drop it, or share it? Are you using the remainder as your answer? What was your question?
What are the remains of the pizzas?
So you're asking me about the leftovers and how much leftovers there are, right? So go back, think back. That's not up there. But you can, what are you doing with your remainder? The remainder is the answer, right? So are you using the remainder for the answer? You are. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So this is a use it.
So do I need to put it?
You can put use it.
Okay.
I got mine.
I want you to take them home and try partial quotients tonight. Okay?
Do I need to circle?
Yes. You were only supposed to write 1 on the back. The one you were going to do. Do you girls understand that?
Yeah, I understand.
If you wrote more than 1, then circle the one it matches.
I wrote my pilgrim on the back and then
And it's time to put your sticky notes on the parking lot. It's time to sign out of iExcel. It's time to sign out of Google Classroom. And it's time to sit quietly in your seat. It's okay. That tells me that's fine.
we just exit out.
Yep. Just close it and sign out of Google, exit out of Google Classroom. Guys, if you never got to your parking lot, that tells me that I need to help you with the question that you had to figure out. That's fine.
Okay. So you guys, did you say share or drop?
Share.
The camera can't see your parking lot. I'll have to take a picture of it.
Make everyone below. Make
And your chairs 1. And your chairs twice. Shh. You have stuff on the floor, guys. We're going to trip over it. You ready? I have $55 to share between 25 people. Round it, drop it, share it. What do you think? Share it. I have 30 cupcakes. There are 25, I'm sorry. There are, yes, I have 30 cupcakes. There are 25 of you. Round it, drop it, share it. Drop it. You're not going to cut up those little cupcakes, are you?
No.
They're showing movies. 5 of you can get into the movie theater at one time. Now this is already set up. It's right here in the room. How many times do I have to show the movie? 5 times. How many people are in the movie the last show? 4. What group is it? Green group. Okay? What was that? Was that a round it, or drop it, or a share it? That's a round it. When you use the remainder to change the quotient, you're rounding up. Awesome. Great job, guys. Thanks for your participation.